For many immigrant parents, one question quietly lingers in the background. How do you help your children stay connected to their roots while growing up in a completely different culture? It's a challenge that has inspired countless conversations around dinner tables, during family gatherings, and on long trips back home. For our guest today, it also sparked an entrepreneurial journey. Joining us today is Mohit Patel, co founder of Mama, Papa, and Me, a cultural education brand that aims to help children connect to their heritage through stories, activities, interactive lessons, and learning experiences. What began as a personal mission with his wife, the brand has now grown into a platform serving families looking to bridge generations and cultures. Mr. Patel, welcome and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, and
Okay.
thank you so much.
Yeah. So to begin with, tell us about the company and the vision behind it.
So the company, as you already mentioned, that we are kind of a company who going to, deliver the cultural materials which can empower parents and grandparents or any loved ones, uh, pass down to their children using our materials. Our main goal is to give them I can look Mama Papa and me as a cultural bridge between the parents and children. So and that can help them to empower the children and stay connected with the roots with the help of our interactive books and puzzles and activity books. So that's our kind of overall mission towards that. Um, yeah, I think I would say and that way. And I can expand more onto like the journey and kind of why we started probably
Okay.
in the next session.
Okay. As you said, what kind of education experiences and resources does the brand create?
So initially, the first phase that we started, we started with our three book series bundle, in which initially it can introduce you with the Hindu gods and goddesses,
Okay.
our Hindu festivals, and some of the tradition culture. Why do we do some sort of cultural traditions? So basic why belongs to our tradition. Why do we chant mantras? Why do we do puja? Right. So those kind of question arise in children's mind, and we try to give them the answer with a basic explanation. So it's kind of a initial phase. What we started is keeping in mind that children who is new to, our culture learning, it needs to spark the curiosity on them. For that, a basic understanding of our gods, festival, and tradition would be our first element in a ladder. So that was our first journey we started, and
Okay.
then in the coming up with the second phase, we started introducing them with the Ramayana complete experience, where we move to the story-based learning. One can learn stories or cultural stories. Along with it, they can learn the values out of it. So that's for our second phase. So yeah, that's kind of currently the books and the activities material are there on our platform.
Okay. So tell us about the journey and what inspired you to start the company.
Okay, so journey and inspiration, I would say, let me take it back. So it's actually the discussion started with my wife in June 2023, the same month, 3 years back. Our son was turning 3 year old, and we are kind of looking for some interactive cultural materials that we can read with them or use that material to kind of understand where we come from, right? Some sort of cultural learning we can pass down to our children. So that discussion we are having, we searched for it. We found a couple of materials that is useful for us to start with it, but those are too informative, lesson oriented. So we thought, let's have some interactive element in this materials, right? So then we started researching on it that what can we do in this field that can help our family as well as the similar family, the immigrant family that is coming outside India that can help them, right? So then and that was the first, I would say, the point where we thought of executing this idea into the real execution mode. And before that, a couple of years back, I think the same discussion point I and my wife having that. some of the discussion about the purpose of life, kind of. It's generally it's mid 30s kind of thing, you can say, but along with it, we want to contribute larger way in our community. Of course, you definitely, as a purpose of life, you can take care of your extended family that is being taken care, but we want to expand that towards the community. So that thought, we had it in mind, but never got a clear point where we can execute it. So with along with our uh, parenting experience and children being at that age that we want to give them some useful content. So that's where our execution start to create this mission to publish the books and the interactive materials. So that was the kind of overall idea. Yeah.
Okay. So tell us about the your immigrant journey and how it shaped the experiences, how it shaped the direction of Mama, Papa, and me.
So I myself immigrated here around 16 years back as a student, and then I did study here and working as a hardware engineer in one of the semiconductor company. Similarly, my wife also came here and did the study. Uh, so over the initial time here in the US, one thing is pretty prominent that you are in a different culture at all, right? So, and uh, it didn't hit much while we are like as a single family. But once you have a children, you will clearly see the difference, and where we see there is a culture inside the house and there is a different culture outside the house, and that's where our kind of um, prominent effort begin it that hey, children doesn't need to choose between the inside house and the outside house culture, but they definitely need to understand the cultural identity through which they can have a sense of belonging. And once they have a sense of belonging, they can have a self confidence and they can pretty much admire other culture after that. So that's what kind of a idea behind it, and that's what taught me in my immigrant journey that hey, something we need to have this kind of medium through which our next generation can benefit from it.
Okay.
So yeah.
So was there any particular moment with your children when you realized that there weren't enough resources to help them connect with their Indian heritage culture?
I mean, yeah, as I was mentioning that our elder son turning 3, where he can able to understand the meaning of certain words, and it can he can understand the books while we are reading it. While doing that, we definitely try to engage him in some sort of puja or some cultural activity that we used to do, or even festival that we celebrate. But we saw that it's not that easy for us being outside of India, where they are pretty much not actively engaged in the culture. It's required more effort from parents to make them actively engage in sort of tradition that we do. So for that, we are looking for a particular kind of interactive medium or elements that we can use and that can help us to bond with our children. And at the same time, we can pass down the some of the cultural learning or the values that we want to instill in our next generation. So that's what the kind of a point that we thought that hey, there are materials out there, but still, if I look at in the market, right, there are very few books or any interactive which can truly help parents to kind of engage them in cultural activities. So yeah.
So, as you founded this company with your wife, what were the biggest challenges of building a business while raising a family, a young family?
That yeah, I mean that's a good point. So the challenge is mainly with giving the time, because this is like I have my own primary job. She's doing her business, and along with it, we have a day-to-day activity with the children, and giving the time that on this mission that we wanted to create a meaningful content, it's definitely challenging. So spending a quality time to create this now in the books, writing the books, and how to kind of take it in the market, processing about that, and learning about the entire journey that we never had an experience that what could be the publishing criteria and everything. So finding a time was the first challenging thing. Understanding that we don't want that to be just informative content out there in the market. So we want to definitely want to make an interactive element in each of the books or each of the content that we are releasing it. We spend a lot of time researching on the content. So we spend, I would say that after putting kids into sleep overnight, we are working on a multiple discussion, brainstorming that how basically we can create meaningful content that can help. So we spent a lot of time on researching on this element.
Okay. So, as an immigrant parent yourself, don't you think if you go to a different country, you should rather accommodate or get accustomed to their cultures, sort of become a part of the melting pot, rather than carrying on your own culture? What do you think about the debate that is going on?
I think I mean, here we are dividing two things. I mean, we should not even, we or even our children should not choose between our culture and the culture outside. I mean, the culture that is outside India, right? So we should understand or admire both. But first, because we come from some background, first of all, our children needs to be aware of where they come from. Some sort of cultural identity should be there. That instilling, because that's what the pretty common issue here, that children out, I mean, whenever they go out, they have a conflicting thing. They learn something in the house, and they learn something differently when they go to school or somewhere in a camp. So the first issue is, let's accept ourselves with our cultural identity. Once you accept that, that's what we wanted to try and instill into the children, that what's our cultural identity. If you understand that, you will have a self confidence and sense of belonging, that hey, I belong to this community, this is who I am, right? Now I go out and present myself who I am, and that way you'll have a confidence to present yourself, as well as you have a positive attitude towards the other culture. So it's, I wouldn't say that we should, and that actually, once you accept yourself or accept your cultural identity, you can easily integrate it into a different culture. If they so I look at that way, that acceptance gives you an ability to integrate into a different environment. So but first thing first, you need to accept yourself. So that's what I think I feel like this is my view on that.
Very well said. So, what are some unique challenges that come up with helping them stay connected through their roots, cultural roots, while growing up in a different environment?
I think the initial challenge, I wouldn't say a challenge, but the mood, I mean, the ones they grow, right? You will see some of the learning that they get it from outside the house. I think, and they along with it, they have a more question that hey, why one of my friend is doing this way, and you taught me to do this stuff, right? So the those question, I we definitely expect that, and it's first thing first we wanted to, and if you look at in one of the books, right, we tried to cover those kind of questions that comes to their mind. Why? Because this is the curious mind, and that's what we wanted, and this is the age that we want to target, because this is very curious mind, and we need to give them the sufficient information that to satisfy their curiosity, and then after they can answer some of the questions that going to arise when they go out. Once they grow, these are the common questions, some of the them that is pretty much commonly going to come. Initial stage, it will be a pretty limited questions, but after that, I think there are more questions that they have to resolve by themselves. But for us, our job is to kind of understand that question, and this is pretty common that through their different environment, I would say, from the friends and I mean the school environment, from the teachers and everything, you will see a different perspective of learning some values or learning something, some different culture. They'll understand even the festivals, right? Here the festivals are different, right? And they'll have a they try to understand that they try to compare those festival with our festival also, that hey, they used to do this kind of celebration? Why don't we have this celebration in our culture, right? So I think it's a matter of first understanding our festivals, our tradition, our celebration, and then giving them the opportunity to find out the answer that they see when they go outside.
So, okay, so how do you explain your children about any children of color about how to face racism or stereotypes that they face in their school, like getting discriminated because they are of color or because of their lunch, the lunch they bring. So, how do
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, you brought a good point. I mean, this is lunch is the pretty common question. I would say that comes in our table when we are discussing with our child, because we are a vegetarian family, and this is pretty common questions comes to the mind, and that's I mean, the first thing first. That's where the my initial explanation comes in the picture, to give them a, a vague answer and give them the clarity that why we choose to do a vegetarian, and we try to keep this tradition in our family. If we give them the clarity on that, and along with it, a cultural identity, even we, how do we look, how do we present ourselves might be different from other. If you accept that, and if you accept our foods or color or the clothes that we wear, right, you will then automatically admire that, hey, people are going to be different, right? So, and giving them the sense of understanding yourself, as well as giving them that, hey, people are going to be different, but our job as a community to accept all the people around us, that gives them the admiration or empathy towards that other people or other culture that they follow, food, color wise, or anywhere. So I think that wouldn't say that that is a easy way that we can directly instill this kind of differentiation or education into them. It's a gradual process, and for that, I think this kind of a cultural medium, I think, would be beneficial in a longer run.
Okay. So we've spoken about helping children develop cultural confidence. So what does that look in practice?
So yeah, that's again a good point. That the cultural confidence, I would say that I tie it to with the cultural identity, right? Once cultural identity, which means accepting yourself, gives you a self belonging in this community and gives the confidence, because sometimes uh, like children go out, right, and people are doing certain way, they entice towards that, hey, and feel it's okay to entice towards that, or feel like, hey, they are doing a very good way of doing certain thing, but that create in their back of the mind some not a good way to look at our culture or our generation. I mean, our tradition. They think that, hey, whatever we do would be some sort of kind of a, if they not properly understand our tradition. Let's say, why do we touch elders' feet, right? And they go outside. They nobody is doing, right. So they, if they don't have a proper understanding of our traditions, they might think that, hey, whatever we do, it's outdated or it's not relevant, right? So I think ultimately uh, giving them the information of our tradition, clarity on that, would help them to kind of differentiate those two, and admire both our tradition as well as the outside tradition.
Okay. So moving on, do you think stories have a unique ability to help children connect with their culture, history, and values in a way that traditional educational tools sometimes cannot?
That's again a very good point. I'll say my view on this one. Uh, if I think about it, right, stories is stories are the actual fundamental which keeps culture alive. Our culture is alive because of the stories. And why I'm saying that, think about our, if we talk about our culture, what are the fundamental stories that we often hear? Ramayana and Mahabharata, right? Those are oral stories. I mean, coming passed down from thousands of generation. I mean, thousands of years over the generation over generation, and the stories are the one which can definitely I mean, one thing, they can help in passing the value to a next generation. It can help to stay alive, I mean, keep the culture alive, because the oral stories, right? Oral, and so those two fundamental things, I think it's very uh, useful when it comes to the stories versus the informative learning. Let's say, I'll give you a very good example. A person A, or child A is learning uh, some value, some moral values through a stories, and a child B who is learning moral values through an informative way. That hey, why standing for yourself is good, right? For example, right? While child A has a reference of a story, and in the story, there is an action item through which he or she can understand that how they can apply that moral value into real life. Right? That's what the moral value is. It's not about that. Hey, I know 10 different moral values. Then what to do about it? Ultimately, how you apply towards your real life situation when you come across. Right? That's the key thing that we need to instill in our children. And if you see, for example, our Ramayana crossover tales, moral value based book series, so in which what we and that's the same thought we had it, that how can we resolve this in a way that can help the next generation. So what we did is, on the left side, on the book Ramayana stories is going, and the right side real life situation. For example, Hanumanji had a doubt that how he can cross over the ocean. Similarly, a child named Veer has a doubt that how he can cross. He can complete the swimming competition. This is pretty common doubt, right? So once you have a reference of stories where a same person goes through the event, and you see that in real life you are having the same doubt, and how you can easily apply that value towards your situation. I think, yeah, that's what's the benefit of stories and for instilling the value in your children.
Okay. So I can see in your background a copy of Ramayana. So what led you to create the Ramayana cultural experience as a screen-free learning journey, particularly at the time when children's content is digital, we are on screen all the time.
That's one of the point you already mentioned, the screen free learning, right? That was
Yeah.
our first agenda.
Yeah.
And why screen free learning? Because any learning at this age that we are targeting should be a collective learning between, the collective bonding or the moment between the parents and children. So, uh, and answering the first question, that why did we choose Ramayana? So, as I was mentioning, the story or two fundamental stories or culture would be the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. We started with the Ramayana as of now, but and then we don't want to present Ramayana as of like a stories that hey, these are the number of stories that or number of event happen in the Ramayana. These are the characters, but we want to create the wholesome experience, that what are the learnings from Ramayana. Okay, you have a learning of Ramayana, how you can apply in real life, and in a very engaging and interactive way, where parents can also share their learning, and as well as engage with the children. So we want to create a bonding between child and parents, want to instill values through our story, and interactive elements like puzzles, activity books, and flashcard that can be used by parents as well as kids to transfer that values. So that's what the idea behind it.
Okay. So what was the most rewarding feedback that you've received from the families who have used your products?
I would say there are a lot of initial books that we launched, right? There are so many families have the same feedback that they never expected this kind of material which can help them to kind of create an engaging discussion with their children. Many first generation, second generation immigrant family were saying that hey, they wish they when they were growing up, this kind of books were there which can help them understand better. So the experience, the quality of the books, the wholesome content of it, I think those are the feedback families are giving us. I think that's what we wanted. That we did. We It's not like we wanted to present to the community. It should be community should accept that and benefit from that. That's what our agenda here.
Okay. So today there are several brands trying to introduce culture and heritage to children. What do you believe sets Mama, Papa, and Me apart from the other in this space?
I wouldn't do compare with the other. I think they are doing it. First of all, I mean, if somebody is trying to do or fill this gap with some sort of material, we would definitely appreciate, because there is a gap and that needs to fill out by some sort of content. Our, I would say that our approach, in a way, it's kind of different, where we want not only information going out, but it should be interactive, engaging in a way that uh, I mean to say interactive in a sense that we add the interactive element in each of the books. For example, and it should be a meaningful moment with the parents that they can, while reading the books, they can share with their children. So I'll give you one of the example in a festival books in the first series. So we specifically created a festival book in a way that one common element is we are giving the clue that children needs to guess the festival. That is pretty common. That is informative, right? But in the each of the festival, we added one a particular sentence or question where children will ask to the parents that how you used to celebrate this festival. Let's say it's a Raksha Bandhan, who is your favorite sister and brother, right? So those kind of interactive back and forth question, even parents can refresh their memory and can share that the experience or the celebration that they used to do it in this festival. So that way, children can more engage or create a curiosity towards that now festival. This is one of the example, but all our content is kind of similar way that we wanted to be if because this is how we tested in our family that hey, our children, how does they want it to be interactive, right? So similar element we tried to put it into our books, not only informative way, with the wholesome experience they can get. So yeah, that's
Okay.
the
So
idea behind
looking
it.
so looking ahead, what is your long-term vision for Mama, Papa, and Me, and the impact you hope it will have on future generations?
Long term way, I think as I was saying that Mama Papa Me, I definitely see a cultural bridge between the parents and the children, that they can use our content to create a sort, I mean, try to do useful uh, cultural connections or cultural values transfer with Mama Papa and Me content. And that's what kind of our mission would be, that it needs to be relevant, until unless if it's not relevant, we wouldn't publish it. It needs to be relevant, interactive, and engaging for the families who is specifically outside India, who needs this kind of content to kind of engage their children and give them the cultural background, so they can use our books and interactive elements
Okay.
in that journey. Yeah.
Okay. So as a immigrant found entrepreneur yourself, what is your advice to first generation Indian American who are starting out their entrepreneurial journey in US?
Uh, Entrepreneur journey in a sense of the similar field or in general, any
In
category.
general, or in similar, in general for that matter.
I think in general, I would say that here in, I mean, if you talk about in USA specifically, I think setting up, if you have some idea or some meaningful idea, I think executing here will be pretty convenient. The process itself, there is no delay or all the straightforward process. I mean, the process is pretty straightforward if you are creating a LLC or company, or the licensing that you need to start your entrepreneurial business. It's pretty straightforward. So I would say the execution of any idea that you have it in your entrepreneurial journey, it can be pretty cleanly executed here. You just have to kind of work on it. So that's a kind of advice I would say, that if you have any thought or any side hustle kind of idea that you want to pursue here, I think this is I would say that you should go for it and start working towards it. I would say that there is hardly you will see any blockage in your process if you have a clean idea and execution steps in mind. You wouldn't see any blockage at all.
Thank you so much for joining us today and for your insightful words and to inspire so many parents to sort of make their children believe in their culture and stay connected. Thank you so much for your words.